The transport ship docked 3 hours early. Quareth stepped through the airlock and into the dim corridors of the orbital station. The Velkarian Tycoon moved quickly through the executive level, mandibles clicking with irritation. The corporate summit had been a waste of time. Nothing but posturing and empty promises from competitors who thought they could challenge Zix-Thera Galactic Industries. Quareth's 4 legs carried the insectoid frame through hallways that should have been empty at 2 in the morning. The compound eyes took in everything with cold efficiency. This was how Quareth preferred things: quiet, controlled, predictable. The station orbited Earth, that strange blue world full of even stranger creatures. Humans. They were useful enough workers, Quareth supposed. They followed orders and worked for reasonable wages. But they were also emotional, irrational. They made decisions based on feelings rather than logic. It was a weakness that Velkarian culture had evolved beyond millions of years ago. Quareth rounded a corner and stopped. Light spilled from under the door of Conference Room 7 Alpha. That room should be locked, should be empty. Quareth's antenna twitched with curiosity, an emotion the Tycoon quickly suppressed. Emotions were distractions. Emotions led to poor decisions. But curiosity won. Quareth moved closer to the door and activated its transparency field. Inside, a human sat at the main workstation. He wore the gray uniform of station maintenance, a janitor. His dark hair was messy and shadows hung under his eyes. But his hands moved with precision across the holographic displays that floated in the air around him. Mathematical equations scrolled past. Molecular structures rotated in 3-dimensional space. Complex scientific data filled every screen. This was not cleaning. This was research. Advanced research. Quareth's translator implant caught the human's voice. He was talking to himself, something humans often did. Come on, come on. The protein folding should stabilize if I adjust the amino acid sequence here. His fingers danced through the holograms, changing numbers and watching the results. The janitor leaned back and rubbed his face with both hands. He looked exhausted. 3 months, he whispered. She has 3 months. I can do this. I have to do this. He pulled out a small device from his pocket. A photo frame. Even from the doorway, Quareth could see the image of a small human child with a bright smile. The janitor stared at it for a long moment, then put it away and returned to work. Quareth should have been angry. This human was using company equipment without authorization. He was accessing systems far above his clearance level. He was stealing processing power from quantum computers that cost more than most humans earned in a lifetime. This was a violation of at least 12 corporate regulations. But Quareth was not angry. Quareth was fascinated. The Tycoon watched for another 10 minutes. The janitor worked with focus that would impress any Velkarian overseer. His methods were unconventional, approaching problems from angles that no properly trained scientist would consider. Yet there was brilliance in the chaos. Quareth could see it in the data streams, in the way the human connected concepts that should not connect. If I can just stabilize the protein folding sequence, the janitor muttered again, his voice cracking with desperation. Lily's running out of time. Quareth backed away from the door and moved to a private office. The Tycoon accessed the station's personnel database with executive override codes. The search took seconds. Marcus Chen, age 34. Position: Night Maintenance Technician, Executive Wing. Employment duration: 18 months. Performance reviews: excellent. No disciplinary actions. Quareth dug deeper. The database connected to public records. Marcus Chen had once been a graduate student at Stanford University. Biochemistry. His academic record showed promise. Publications in respected journals. Then, 7 years ago, everything stopped. No more papers, no more research. Just a note in the file about a leave of absence that became permanent. Cross-referencing medical databases required more clearance, but Kareth had that clearance. The Tycoon found the records. Marcus Chen's wife had died during childbirth, complications from a rare genetic disorder. The child survived but inherited the condition. The medical bills were enormous. Marcus had dropped out of his doctoral program to work, to pay for treatments, to keep his daughter alive. The daughter's name was Lily Chen, age 7. Current status, stable but declining. Prognosis, poor without experimental gene therapy. Estimated cost of therapy, beyond the means of any single working-class human. Kareth sat in the darkened office processing this information. In Velkarian culture, such a situation had a clear answer. If an offspring could not survive without excessive resource expenditure, the logical choice was to accept the loss and preserve resources for the collective good. Emotional attachment to individuals was inefficient. But humans did not think this way. They poured resources into single individuals. They sacrificed their own well-being for their young. They acted against pure logic and called it love. Kareth had always viewed this as their greatest weakness. The Tycoon returned to observe the conference room. Marcus was still working. His shift should have ended an hour ago, but he remained. The holographic displays showed complex simulations running through thousands of iterations. He was designing a gene therapy from scratch, using stolen computer time and his own fading knowledge from a career he had abandoned. It was absurd. It was inefficient, it was impossible, and yet he was doing it. Kareth watched Marcus save his work with careful precision. The human accessed deletion protocols, erasing all traces of his presence in the system logs. He had covered his tracks well, not perfectly, but well enough that most security checks would miss it. Then Marcus picked up his cleaning supplies and actually began to clean the conference room. He scrubbed every surface, emptied trash receptacles, made the room perfect. When Marcus finally left at 4 in the morning, the conference room looked exactly as it should, spotless, empty. No one would ever know he had been there doing anything other than his assigned job. Kareth remained in the office long after the janitor disappeared down the corridor. The Tycoon should report this, should file a security alert. Should have Marcus Chen terminated and possibly prosecuted. But Kareth did not reach for the communication panel. Instead, the Tycoon pulled up the security feed archives and began watching. 1 night ago, 2 nights, a week, a month, every night, the same pattern. Marcus came to work. He cleaned the executive wing with meticulous care. Then, when he thought no one was watching, he slipped into the conference room and worked on his impossible project. 18 months of this. 18 months of sacrificing sleep, health, and any normal life. 18 months of fighting against statistics and logic and reality itself, driven by nothing but desperation and love for a small human child. Kareth's antenna twitched again. That curious feeling returned, stronger this time. It came with something else. Something Velkarians were not supposed to feel. Respect. The Tycoon made a decision, not yet a firm decision, but the beginning of one. Kareth would continue watching, would continue learning, and perhaps would discover whether human emotion was truly weakness or something else entirely. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly in the darkness. Somewhere down there, a little girl named Lily slept, unaware that an alien Tycoon had just become interested in her survival. For the next 5 nights, Kareth watched Marcus Chen work. The Tycoon accessed security feeds from a private terminal, studying the human like a scientist observing a fascinating specimen. Each night followed the same pattern. Marcus arrived at 10 in the evening. He cleaned methodically for 4 hours. Then he disappeared into conference room 7 Alpha and worked until dawn. Kareth began to understand the scope of what Marcus was attempting. The human was designing a gene therapy for a condition so rare that major pharmaceutical companies had abandoned research years ago. Not enough patience to justify the cost. Not enough profit to make it worthwhile. In pure economic terms, the decision made sense. But Marcus did not care about economics. He cared about one patient. One little girl with a bright smile in a photograph. The work itself impressed Quareth more than the Tycoon wanted to admit. Marcus approached the problem with unusual creativity. He combined techniques from different fields that traditional researchers kept separate. He ran simulations that explored possibilities others had dismissed. Without proper funding or equipment or support, he was making progress that should have required an entire research team. It was inefficient. It was desperate. It was brilliant. On the 6th night, Quareth discovered something troubling in the system logs. The station's artificial intelligence had flagged unusual processing patterns. Someone was investigating. Quareth traced the query to Security Chief Talar, another Velkarian who took regulations very seriously. Talar was thorough. The security chief was already building a case. Evidence of unauthorized access, records of processing time theft, calculations of stolen resources worth thousands of credits. Within days, Talar would have enough proof to arrest Marcus Chen. Quareth sat in the executive office, antenna twitching with unusual agitation. The logical choice was clear. Let Talar handle it. Marcus had broken rules. Velkarian culture valued order and regulation. Punishment fit the crime. Simple, clean, efficient. But Quareth kept thinking about those 18 months. 18 months of hope fighting against impossible odds. 18 months of a father refusing to give up on his child. The Tycoon accessed Marcus's work directly, bypassing his security protocols with executive clearance. The files opened across multiple holographic displays. Equations filled the air. Molecular structures rotated in complex dances. Research notes documented every attempt, every failure, every small success. Quareth was no biologist, but the Tycoon had 3 doctoral degrees and could follow scientific reasoning. Marcus's approach was unorthodox, but sound. More than sound. Some of his innovations showed genuine insight. This was not the work of a desperate amateur. This was the work of someone who had once been a skilled scientist and still possessed that brilliance, even after years away from the field. Then Quareth found something unexpected in the data. Marcus's gene therapy, designed for his daughter's specific condition, had broader applications. The protein folding technique he was developing could potentially treat an entire class of genetic disorders, not just in humans, but in multiple species across the known systems. Quareth ran economic projections. If this therapy worked, if it could be developed properly and marketed effectively, the value would be enormous. Billions of credits, perhaps tens of billions. Marcus had stumbled onto something revolutionary while trying to save one child, and he had no idea. All his notes focused on Lily. On adjusting the therapy to her specific genetic markers, on making sure it would be safe for a 7-year-old human girl. He had never considered the commercial applications because he was not thinking about money. He was thinking about his daughter's next birthday. Quareth's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of deep thought in Velkarian body language. The Tycoon was seeing a possibility, not just a business opportunity, though that mattered. Something larger, something that would require Quareth to act against every instinct Velkarian culture had bred into the species. On the 7th night, Quareth watched Marcus arrive for his shift. The human looked worse than before. His uniform was clean but wrinkled. His eyes were red. He moved with the careful precision of someone running on empty, using willpower to compensate for exhaustion. Quareth pulled up Lily's medical records again. The prognosis had been updated. 3 months was optimistic. The child was deteriorating faster than doctors expected. 2 months now, perhaps less. Marcus did not know this yet. The update had come through that afternoon while he slept. He would find out tomorrow when he took Lily to her weekly checkup. The Tycoon watched Marcus clean the executive wing. He was efficient despite his exhaustion. He took pride in his work, even this menial work that was so far below his education and abilities. Every surface gleamed, every trash receptacle was emptied, every detail was perfect. Then, Marcus entered Conference Room 7 Alpha. He sat at the workstation and pulled out the photograph of Lily. He stared at it for a long time. His shoulders shook. He was crying. Something humans did when overwhelmed by emotion. "I'm so close, baby girl," he whispered to the photograph. "So close. Just a few more weeks, and I'll have it figured out. Just hold on a little longer, please." He wiped his eyes and started working. Quarith made a decision. The Tycoon sent a message to Talar, using executive authority to shut down the security investigation. The security chief would not be happy, but Quarith outranked everyone on the station. The message was simple and direct. "Cease investigation of Conference Room 7 Alpha processing anomalies. Executive override. No further action required." Talar's response came within minutes. "This is irregular. Regulations clearly state that unauthorized system access must be reported and prosecuted. The individual in question has stolen company resources." Quarith typed a reply. "The individual in question is conducting research that may have significant value to the company. I am handling this personally. Your objection is noted, but overruled." The security chief's next message dripped with disapproval. "As you command. But I am filing this exchange in the official record. Emotional compromise is affecting your judgment." Emotional compromise. The worst insult one Velkarian could give another. The suggestion that feelings had overridden logic. That personal sentiment had corrupted professional decision-making. Quarith stared at those words for a long time. Was Talar right? Had watching this human struggle night after night affected the Tycoon's judgment? Had Quarith become compromised by something as illogical as sympathy? Perhaps. But Quarith was also seeing an opportunity that Talar missed. Marcus Chen represented value. Not just economic value, though that was substantial. He represented something Quarith's company needed. Innovation, dedication, the ability to solve problems that seemed impossible. And he represented something Quarith had never expected to value. He represented what humans called hope. The Tycoon watched Marcus work through the night, watched him fight exhaustion and despair with nothing but determination and love, watched him refuse to accept the logical conclusion that his daughter was going to die. Humans, Quarith realized, did not accept defeat the way Velkarians did. They did not calculate odds and surrender when probabilities became unfavorable. They fought. They struggled. They kept going long after logic said to stop. It was irrational, it was inefficient, and sometimes, apparently, it worked. Dawn approached. Marcus saved his work and began his careful cleanup routine. He erased his digital footprints and scrubbed the conference room until it was pristine. Then he gathered his supplies and left, another shift complete. Quarith sat in the darkness and planned. The time for observation was ending. The time for action was beginning. Tomorrow night, the alien Tycoon would confront the human janitor, and neither of their lives would ever be the same. Marcus finished cleaning the executive bathroom and checked his watch. 2:45 in the morning. Good time. He could get 3 hours of work done before his shift officially ended. Maybe 4 if he pushed it. His body ached. His eyes burned. But Lily's doctor appointment had delivered the news he dreaded. 2 months at best. The disease was progressing faster than anyone predicted. Every day mattered now. Every hour. He pushed his cleaning cart toward Conference Room 7 Alpha. The corridors were empty as always. The executive wing was a ghost town at night. That was why he had chosen it. That was why he could steal these precious hours to work on the one thing that mattered. Marcus palmed the door lock. He had hacked his security badge months ago, giving himself access he should not have. Just another crime to add to the list. Unauthorized access, data theft, fraud. If anyone found out, he would lose his job, lose his insurance, lose everything. But if he did nothing, he would lose Lily. And that was not acceptable. The door opened. The lights came on automatically. Marcus stepped inside and froze. Someone was sitting at the conference table. A Velcarian. The insectoid form was unmistakable. 4 legs, compound eyes, mandibles that clicked softly. The executive uniform marked this one as high-ranking. Marcus's heart stopped. His cleaning supplies clattered to the floor. "Good evening, Marcus Chen," the Velcarian said. The translator made the voice sound neutral, but Marcus heard his career ending in those words. "Please close the door. We have much to discuss." Marcus's hands shook as he closed the door. His mind raced through options. Run, beg, explain. Nothing seemed like it would work. He was caught. It was over. "Sit," the Velcarian said, gesturing to a chair. Marcus sat because his legs would not hold him anymore. "I can explain. You have been using company equipment without authorization for 18 months, the alien said. You have stolen approximately 47,000 credits worth of processing time. You have accessed systems far above your clearance level. You have violated 12 corporate regulations and possibly 6 interstellar laws. Each word was a nail in a coffin. Marcus closed his eyes. Yes. Show me what you have been working on. Marcus opened his eyes. That was not the response he expected. What? Show me your research, the Velcarian said. I have observed you for 7 nights. I have seen dedication that would impress any Velcarian overseer, but I want to understand. Show me what you are trying to accomplish. Marcus stared at the alien. This was Quareth. He recognized the name badge now. Quareth was not just high-ranking. Quareth owned the entire company, owned this station, owned everything Marcus could see. Are you going to fire me? Marcus asked. That depends on what you show me now, Quareth replied. Marcus had nothing left to lose. He stood on shaking legs and walked to the workstation. His fingers moved across the controls, bringing up his research. 18 months of work filled the air in holographic glory. My daughter has a genetic disorder, Marcus began. His voice was steady now. He could talk about science even when everything else was falling apart. It is called Renton-Chase syndrome. Only about 40 people in the world have it. The genes that should control protein production in her cells are damaged. Her body cannot make certain proteins she needs to survive. He pulled up Lily's genetic scan. The damaged sections glowed red against the blue spiral of her DNA. Without those proteins, her organs slowly fail. She has maybe 2 months left. Quareth moved closer, studying the displays with compound eyes that took in every detail. And pharmaceutical companies have abandoned research on this condition. Not enough patients, Marcus said bitterly. Not enough profit. They ran the numbers and decided 40 people were not worth saving. But one of those 40 people is my entire world. He pulled up his therapy design. The complex molecular structures rotated in the air between them. I am designing a gene therapy that would repair the damaged genes. It would teach her cells to make the proteins they are missing. If it works, she could live a normal life. And if it does not work? Quareth asked. Then I tried everything I could, Marcus said. Then I did not give up on her. Then I was the father she deserved. Quareth studied the research in silence. The mandibles clicked steadily, a rhythm Marcus could not interpret. Finally, the alien spoke. Why sacrifice yourself for one offspring? My species would calculate the resource expenditure and accept the logical conclusion. Preserve resources for the greater good. Let the individual go. Marcus felt anger surge through his exhaustion. That's where humans are different. We don't calculate the worth of love. My daughter is not a resource allocation problem. She's not a number in a spreadsheet. She's the little girl who makes me breakfast on Sundays even though she can barely reach the stove. She's the kid who reads books under her blankets with a flashlight when she should be sleeping. She's the person who makes every difficult thing in my life worthwhile. He met Quareth's compound eyes without flinching. I'll burn every midnight candle I have to save her. I'll work until I collapse. I'll break every rule that needs breaking. Because that's what fathers do. That's what love means. The silence stretched long. Then Quareth said something Marcus did not expect. Your approach to the protein folding problem is innovative. Traditional researchers would not have considered this pathway. Marcus blinked. What? You are combining techniques from multiple fields, Quareth continued, manipulating the holograms. Gene therapy, protein engineering, cellular metabolism. You are exploring connections that standard pharmaceutical research keeps separate. Your methods are unorthodox. I am desperate, Marcus said. I don't have time for orthodox. Desperation has made you creative, Quareth said. The alien pulled up new projections, running calculations Marcus's stolen processing time could never handle. But you have also made discoveries you do not recognize. Look here. The display shifted. Marcus's therapy design expanded, showing applications he had never considered. Your protein folding technique does not just work for Renton-Chase syndrome. It could treat dozens of related genetic disorders across multiple species. The commercial value is substantial. Marcus stared at the numbers. Billions of credits, millions of potential patients. His therapy could be worth more than he earned in 100 lifetimes. I don't care about that, he said quietly. I just want to save Lily. I know, Quareth said. That is what makes this remarkable. You have stumbled onto something revolutionary because you were focused on one child. Your love has created value you never intended to pursue. The alien turned to face him directly. Marcus Chen, I am going to make you an offer. But first, you must answer a question honestly. If you had the choice between saving only your daughter or saving millions of other children with your therapy, which would you choose? Marcus did not hesitate. Lily. Every time. I am sorry if that makes me selfish, but she's my daughter. That is the correct answer, Quareth said. Because if you had said millions, I would know you were lying to impress me. Your honesty proves you can be trusted. Trusted with what? I want to fund your research properly, Quareth said. Legal access to equipment, a research team, resources to develop your therapy correctly, and Lily will be the first patient. Marcus felt tears coming. Why would you do this? Because I have spent 7 nights watching you refuse to accept defeat, Quareth said. Because your species has something mine has forgotten. Because maybe logic is not always the highest value. And because a little girl deserves to live. The alien extended a limb. Also because this will be very profitable. I am not completely compromised by sentiment. Marcus laughed through his tears. He shook Quareth's offered limb, sealing an impossible bargain. Then the conference room door opened. Security Chief Talar stood there with 3 guards. Quareth, step away from the human, Talar said. He is under arrest. Quareth moved between Marcus and the security team, the Tycoon's 4 legs planted firmly, blocking Talar's path. This human is under my protection. Your presence here is not required. Talar's mandibles clicked with anger. I have evidence of theft, unauthorized access, fraud. You ordered me to cease investigation, but the board of directors disagrees. They sent me to arrest this criminal. The board oversteps its authority, Quareth said calmly. I am still the majority shareholder of this company. A majority that is currently being challenged, Talar replied. 3 board members are calling for your removal. They claim you have become emotionally compromised. They claim you are placing sentiment above profit. They claim you are no longer fit to lead a Velkarian corporation. Marcus watched the confrontation with growing dread. This was his fault. Quareth was facing a corporate coup because of him, because of one desperate janitor and his impossible dreams. "Let them try," Quareth said. "Take your guards and leave, Talar. That is an order." "I take orders from the board now," the security chief said. "They have suspended your executive authority pending a full review. The human comes with me." 3 guards moved forward. Marcus backed away but had nowhere to go. Then Quareth did something unexpected. The Tycoon activated a personal shield generator. A shimmer of energy surrounded both Quareth and Marcus, holding the guards at bay. "You forget something important, Talar," Quareth said quietly. "I built this company. I designed this station. I know systems you have never imagined. If you want this human, you will need to go through me. Are you prepared for that confrontation?" Talar hesitated. Everyone knew Quareth's reputation. The Tycoon had not become wealthy through weakness. "This will not end well for you. The board will win. Velkarian culture does not allow emotional attachment to compromise business decisions." "Perhaps Velkarian culture needs to evolve," Quareth said. The security team withdrew. Talar fixed Quareth with a cold stare. "You have 24 hours before the board meets. I suggest you use that time to reconsider your priorities." Then they were gone. Marcus collapsed into a chair. "You should not have done that. They are going to destroy you because of me." "They are going to try," Quareth corrected. "That is different. Come. We have work to do and very little time." The next 20 hours were the most intense of Marcus's life. Quareth moved with purpose, making calls, sending messages, accessing accounts Marcus did not know existed. The Tycoon purchased a private medical station outside standard corporate jurisdiction, hired a research team willing to work fast and ask few questions, transferred funds through networks that blurred every regulation. Marcus found himself in a laboratory he could only dream about. Real equipment, real resources, a team of actual scientists who looked at his research with respect instead of pity. Dr. Sarah Kim, a human geneticist, studied his therapy design with growing excitement. "This is groundbreaking work. How did you develop this alone?" "I had motivation," Marcus said simply. "Your daughter," Sarah said gently. "Quareth told us. We are going to do everything we can." They refined the therapy together. Marcus's desperate innovations combined with proper scientific methodology. What he had done through necessity became better through collaboration. The therapy was ready in 16 hours. Lily arrived by shuttle, confused but excited. She saw Marcus and ran to him, her small arms wrapping around his waist. "Daddy, what is this place? It looks like a spaceship." "It is a spaceship, baby girl," Marcus said, holding her close. "And these people are going to make you better." She looked up at him with trust, so absolute it hurt. "Will it hurt?" "A little," he admitted. "But I will be right here the whole time. I promise." Quareth watched from the observation window. The Tycoon had never understood human parent-child bonding before, had always seen it as inefficient sentiment. But watching Marcus with Lily, the alien began to comprehend something profound. Love was not just emotion. It was a force that drove impossible accomplishments, a power that turned ordinary people into heroes. The procedure took 14 hours. Marcus never left Lily's side. He held her hand through the sedation, whispered encouragement during the gene therapy administration, stayed close while the medical team monitored her cellular response. Quareth stood beside him, a silent presence. At one point, Marcus turned to the alien. "Why are you really doing this? You said it was profitable, but you are risking your entire company." "That is not logical." "No," Quareth agreed. "It is not logical. You have taught me something unexpected, Marcus Chen. You have taught me that some calculations involve variables that cannot be quantified, that sometimes the most valuable things cannot be measured in credits. You sound like a human, Marcus said with a tired smile. Perhaps that is not an insult, Quarith replied. The therapy worked. Lily's cells began producing the proteins they had been missing. Her organ function stabilized. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, but wanted her monitored for months. The treatment had been a success. Marcus cried. Quarith stood beside him, not understanding tears, but understanding relief. Then the communication panel lit up. The board meeting was beginning. Quarith's future was about to be decided. The Tycoon looked at Marcus and Lily. Thank you for showing me something my species forgot. Now I must go fight for the right to remember it. The board meeting was brutal. 12 Velkarian executives faced Quarith through holographic projections. Talar presented evidence of resource misallocation, emotional compromise, violation of cultural values. The charges were damning by Velkarian standards. Board member Zixrel spoke first. You have abandoned logic for sentiment. You have placed one human offspring above corporate interests. You have embraced weakness. How do you defend these actions? Quarith stood calmly before the assembled board. I defend them by questioning our fundamental assumptions. We value efficiency above all else. But what if we have measured efficiency incorrectly? Efficiency is quantifiable, another board member said. It is not subject to interpretation. I disagree, Quarith said. Marcus Chen created breakthrough medical technology with almost no resources. He did this because he refused to accept logical conclusions. His inefficient emotional attachment drove innovation worth billions of credits. If we had approached this problem with pure Velkarian logic, we would have calculated the cost and done nothing. We would have missed the opportunity entirely. Quarith pulled up projections. The therapy Marcus developed has applications across dozens of species. It will generate more profit than this company has seen in 5 years. All because one desperate father loved his child more than he feared failure. Luck, Talar said dismissively. You cannot base business strategy on emotional outliers. Can I not? Quarith challenged. Our competitors innovate faster than we do. Other species develop technologies we must buy from them. Perhaps that is because we have optimized ourselves into stagnation. Perhaps we need what humans call hope, what they call passion, what they call love. The board members clicked their mandibles in agitation. This was heresy by Velkarian standards. Then Quarith played his final card. I have already negotiated partnerships with 3 major pharmaceutical companies. They want Marcus's therapy. They want the research team I have assembled. They are offering contracts worth 40 billion credits. The board must decide, accept this opportunity or reject it because it came from emotion rather than logic. Silence filled the chamber. Finally, Zixrel spoke. You have created value. That cannot be denied. But you did so by violating our cultural principles. Then perhaps our cultural principles need updating, Quarith said firmly. The vote was close, 7-5. Quarith kept leadership, but only barely. The board demanded results within 2 years, demanded proof that this new approach worked. It was a compromise that satisfied no one but allowed the work to continue. When it was over, Quarith returned to the medical station. Marcus was reading to Lily, who looked better already. The human looked up. Well? We survived, Quarith said. Now we must prove them wrong. Marcus smiled. Then let's get to work. 6 months later, Marcus stood in a laboratory that still felt like a dream. Real equipment surrounded him. A team of 30 researchers from 5 different species worked at their stations. Holographic displays showed data from clinical trials happening across 3 solar systems. The impossible had become routine. But some habits died hard. Marcus still cleaned his own lab space each evening. He could not help it. Those 18 months of working alone had taught him that nothing was beneath him if it helped achieve his goals. "You know we have maintenance staff for that," Dr. Sarah Kim said, watching him wipe down a workstation. "I know," Marcus replied, "but I like things clean." Lily ran through the lab, weaving between researchers who smiled at her. She was healthy now, fully healthy. The gene therapy had done everything Marcus hoped and more. She was a normal 7-year-old girl with energy to spare and a future that stretched ahead without darkness. She stopped at Quareth's station. The alien Tycoon was reviewing financial reports, but looked up when she arrived. "Hello, small human." "Hi, Mr. Quareth. Daddy says you are coming to dinner tonight," Lily said. "I am making dessert. Do Velcarians eat chocolate cake?" "I have never tried chocolate cake," Quareth admitted, "but I am willing to experiment." Lily grinned and ran off to bother another researcher. Quareth watched her go with something that might have been fondness. The alien had changed in 6 months, softened in ways other Velcarians found disturbing, but Marcus found encouraging. The communication panel chimed. Marcus answered it and found himself looking at a woman with tears streaming down her face. "Dr. Chen, I'm Catherine Park. My son David has Renton-Chase syndrome. The doctors told me about your therapy, about the clinical trials. Please, is there room for one more patient?" Marcus's throat tightened. "Yes, send me his medical records. We will get him approved for the next trial group." "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you so much. You gave my son a future." The call ended. Marcus stood there, remembering when he was the desperate parent making that kind of call. Remembering the companies that turned him away because his daughter was not profitable enough to save. Quareth moved beside him. That was the 47th request this week. The therapy is becoming known. 47 children who might have died, Marcus said quietly. 47 families who might have lost everything. "You have done remarkable work," Quareth said. "The board is impressed despite themselves. Profit projections exceed expectations. You have proven that human emotion can drive profitable innovation." Marcus turned to face the alien. "Is that all this is to you? Profit?" "No," Quareth said after a moment. "It stopped being just about profit months ago. I have learned things from you, Marcus Chen. Important things. Uncomfortable things." "Like what?" "Like the fact that my species may have optimized ourselves into a corner," Quareth said. "We removed emotion to become more efficient. But we also removed the drive that pushes beings to achieve impossible things. We can calculate. We can optimize. But we cannot dream the way humans dream." The alien pulled up a holographic display. "I have been analyzing human history. Your species has suffered tremendous setbacks, wars, disasters, extinction-level events. Yet you persist. You rebuild. You refuse to accept defeat even when logic says you should surrender. That is not weakness. That is strength I never recognized before." Marcus smiled. "You sound more human every day." "Perhaps that is not an insult," Quareth said, echoing words from months ago. The lab door opened. Security Chief Talar entered, mandibles clicking with disapproval. The security chief had not forgiven Quareth for defying protocol, had not accepted the new direction of the company. "There is a situation," Talar announced. "Board member Zixral is demanding an emergency meeting. There have been complications with the gene therapy in the latest trial group." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What kind of complications?" 3 patients experienced adverse reactions, Talar said. "Nothing fatal, but concerning. Zixral is using this to challenge Quareth's leadership again. The board meets in 2 hours." Marcus pulled up the trial data immediately. 3 patients from a group of 20 had shown unexpected immune responses. Their bodies were rejecting the therapy. Not dangerously, but enough to require modified treatment. This is normal for medical trials, Sarah said, reading over his shoulder. We adjust the protocol and continue. This is not a failure. But it gives the board ammunition, Quareth said calmly. They want me removed. They want to return to pure efficiency models. This gives them justification. Marcus felt anger surge through him. 3 patients had reactions. 17 patients were cured. That is an 85% success rate. Most experimental therapies would kill for those numbers. Velkarian culture does not accept partial success, Talar said. We expect perfection or nothing. Then Velkarian culture is going to miss a lot of opportunities, Marcus shot back. Quareth placed a limb on Marcus's shoulder. Easy, my friend. Anger will not help us now. We need strategy. The board meeting was even more hostile than the first. Zixral had gathered allies. 5 board members now called for Quareth's removal. They argued that the therapy's imperfection proved emotional decision-making was flawed, that Velkarian logic should have prevented this risk. You gambled company resources on human sentiment, Zixral declared. 3 patients suffered because you prioritized emotion over proper testing. 3 patients had manageable reactions, Quareth corrected. 17 patients were cured of a terminal condition. The therapy has already saved lives. Imperfect lives, another board member said. Velkarian research would have waited until the treatment was flawless. Velkarian research would have never started, Marcus said, stepping forward. Quareth had given him permission to attend the meeting, to speak if necessary. Your culture calculated that 40 patients were not worth saving. You decided my daughter and others like her should die because the profit margin was too small. He pulled up holographic images. Lily smiling, David Park playing with his dog, Chen Mei attending her first day of school. 19 patients who were alive and healthy. These children would be dead if we followed Velkarian logic. Their families would be destroyed. Their potential would be lost. You call that efficiency. I call that tragedy. Emotion talking, Zixral dismissed. No, Marcus said firmly. This is results talking. In 6 months, we have developed a therapy worth 40 billion credits. We have saved lives. We have created jobs. We have proven that human approaches can work alongside Velkarian methods. You want to fire Quareth? Fine, but you will lose everything we have built, because I will leave. My team will leave, and we will take this work somewhere that values what we do. Silence filled the chamber. Marcus had just threatened the board of directors of a company worth trillions. It was insane. It was brave. It was very human. Quareth's mandibles clicked with what might have been pride. Then something unexpected happened. Board member Tixon, who had been silent until now, spoke up. I have been investigating Marcus Chen's therapy independently. The applications extend beyond what we initially understood. There are 17 other genetic conditions across multiple species that could be treated with modified versions of this approach. The potential market is not billions, it is hundreds of billions. Tixon displayed economic projections. More importantly, I have received inquiries from competitors. They want to purchase our medical division. They want access to this research team. They are offering prices that would make this company the wealthiest in 3 sectors. The alien turned compound eyes on Zixral. You want to fire Quareth for embracing human methods? I suggest instead that we learn from those methods, that we expand this approach, that we recognize efficiency is not just about removing emotion, but about achieving results. Other board members began reviewing the data. Marcus watched their body language shift from hostile to interested. Money talked, even to Velkarians, who claimed to be above such concerns. The vote this time was 9-3. Quareth kept leadership. The medical division received expanded funding. Marcus was promoted to chief research officer with complete authority over his projects. When it was over, Marcus found Quareth in the observation deck, staring at Earth, turning slowly below. Thank you for defending me, the alien said. That was brave, possibly foolish, but definitely brave. I learned from the best, Marcus replied. You risked everything for a janitor and his daughter. I could do no less for you. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the planet that had brought them together. So different in species, culture, and philosophy, yet somehow they had found common ground. My daughter wants to be a scientist now, Marcus said. She tells everyone about the alien Tycoon who helped save her life. And what do you tell everyone? Kareth asked. I tell them that the best things in life cannot be calculated, Marcus said. That sometimes you have to trust in things that do not make logical sense. That love and hope and stubborn human refusal to accept defeat can change the universe. Your species is teaching mine many lessons, Kareth said. Not all of them are comfortable, but all of them are valuable. Below them, Earth spun in the darkness. Billions of humans living their lives, dreaming their dreams, refusing to accept limitations, creating impossible things through sheer determination, and watching over them, an alien Tycoon who had learned that the most profitable investment was not in technology or resources, but in believing that impossible things could become real. Marcus went home to Lily that evening. She had indeed made chocolate cake. Kareth tried it and declared it inefficient but delicious. They ate together, this unlikely family built from desperation and compassion. Later, as Lily slept peacefully in her room, Marcus stood in his kitchen and remembered cleaning offices at 3 in the morning, remembered stealing computer time and praying no one would notice. Remembered thinking he would fail and his daughter would die. He had been so close to giving up so many times. But humans did not give up. They kept fighting, kept hoping, kept loving even when logic said love would not be enough. And sometimes, just sometimes, love was exactly enough. The universe, Marcus thought, was full of impossible things, and humans specialized in making them possible. The universe, Kareth thought, had just become significantly more complicated.